A new study purports to find racial discrimination in Yelp reviews. Now, this was a study that was done in the Journal of Consumer Culture, and they looked at over 7,000 Yelp reviews in a traditionally Polish area of New York known as Greenpoint, and also the Bedford-Stuyvesant area, which is predominantly black, right? And what they realized is there was a huge difference in the way that these restaurants were talked about in the reviews. When looking at the two neighborhoods, ethnic restaurants, Greenpoints tended to describe their restaurants as authentic and cozy, while the Bed-Stuy tend to be described with words using dangerous, hood, ghetto, and sketchy. Okay, so it's interesting that the restaurants were described that way, or the neighborhoods that the restaurants were in were described that way. I'm not a New Yorker. I know I've been in these areas before, but I don't really know if it's fair to say that it's racial discrimination that leads to them to describe the areas that way. I don't like words like ghetto. I think that that is a racially charged word. But if the restaurant tends to be in a less safe area, is it necessarily racist to point that out?
People use racially charged language to describe what they are experiencing because that's just the social climate that we've been raised in. You know, that's because it's systematic racism and that's how we've all been brought up. So we say things without realizing that it is racially charged.
Yeah.
Does that mean that that review is now intrinsically racist?
Yeah.
And that's a question I'm not sure I know the answer to, and that's what I was thinking about when I was reading this. I would also like to point out that this was a study about two neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So I thought that the title was a little bit misleading, saying that Yelp reviewers are racist, which is not totally accurate. But I think it is a really.
Have you been on Yelp?
What? I'm just saying that I think that this is an interesting topic to discuss, but I don't know if there's any answer here. I think
it's some CUNY study from like a student put together. I don't even know why.
But there's something here though. There is something here about how do we describe areas that maybe, you know, as a white, you know, upper middle class woman that I'm not familiar with, that I didn't grow up in.
Did you just refer to yourself as a white upper middle class woman?
Well, I just want to make sure that the viewers know that I'm white. I don't know if that was clear. No, but I wonder what sort of language people use, and what does that reflect on any racial bias? I think that it does to an extent, but does it mean that person made a racist review?
I think that the study itself has some serious flaws, because if you're using a forum like Yelp to draw conclusions about people's mindsets, ideologies, personalities, you're dealing with a sample that's not representative. And the reason why I say that is because Yelp is riddled with all sorts of fake reviews, all sorts of children who have no idea what they're talking about.
Or humans that have the mindset of a child.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've written Yelp reviews. There's no
You
question.
have?
Yeah, I have.
Oh my God. Have you ever written a Yelp review? I was going to ask
No, but
this
I've
to you
been
guys.
mentioned in a Yelp review because I work at a restaurant right now, and I got mentioned, and it
Was it good?
It was. It
Oh,
said that I was
I'm
very
proud of
friendly.
you. But
nice.
but like everyone knows. I mean, and I'm sorry for saying this because I didn't know you actually wrote a Yelp review. But everyone knows like people that write on Yelp are they're a little out of touch with what's going on. Like, I mean, come on, realistically.
Out of touch in what way?
Okay, like people.
First of all, I like to
usually
support
the
my
most-
local businesses.
Yeah.
So if my local business is doing something great, I feel like that should be applauded, and that's my way of applauding
Okay, that's
them.
great. But you're like one out of a million people that actually go on Yelp to be like, I waited in a long line, or
Okay. So you're actually proving my point right. People go on Yelp specifically to write bad reviews because they're pissed. The last review I wrote was a bad review because I went to Halloween Horror Nights, which was the worst experience of my life. Do not ever spend the money to go to Halloween Horror Nights.
We had a great time.
Fucking sucks.
We had a good time.
No, it was the worst. Okay,
It's
how
not
long?
scary.
How long did you guys wait in line to go to a stupid maze?
Not that long.
Not long.
Not
Did
long
you guys
at all.
pay that $140 thing
No.
to skip the line?
What am I, Bill Gates? No, of course I
Yeah,
didn't
like
pay
what
that.
who do you think
I
we
waited
are?
3 hours, literally 3 hours,
That's crazy.
not exaggerating, to get into one maze. And by the time I was so mad by the time we got to the front of the line that I walked through the maze like.
Oh wait,
pissed.
you went to Universal. We went to the Hayride. We went to Haunted
that's
Hayride.
totally
Rookie
different.
mistake.
Yeah,
That's totally
seriously, you gotta go
different.
Haunted Hayride.
Anyway, I wrote a bad review about Universal Horror Nights because it sucks.
But like most people that go on Yelp, they're either agitated or they want to feel like they're Anthony Bourdain, and this is their like 5 seconds of fame, where they're like, oh, the gently touched, arugula. Yeah, the gently feathered arugula tasted perfectly, and it was complimentary with my Parmesan or whatever the fuck they're writing, right? And it's just, I mean, it's just ridiculous. You know it for what it is. Like,
Yeah.
when you go on Yelp, I'm not expecting to look at it and be like, oh, I'm entertained. And this is why these people aren't real food critics.
So I think that the only real conclusion that you can draw from this study is that it's inconclusive. I don't think it's a representative sample of people in general. And you don't know who is writing these reviews. You don't know which reviews are being censored by Yelp, which is something that they do often. They hide a lot of their reviews based on some ridiculous algorithm or based on whether or not the business is paid for the good reviews.
Right.
So keep all that shit in mind.
But just to close on this, I just think that I think it would be really interesting if they had done the study a little bit better to find out more about racial bias when people are reviewing different restaurants.